Hello all. Today's video is going to continue to talk about what we're doing with 6 classes here. And I wanted to let you know in advance that my computer's acting a little bit wonky. I think there's something wrong with my mouse. So if the mouse starts jumping all over the place, I'll do my best. We talked about this periodization chart last time, and I know you can't see this probably because my face is in the way. But I just wanted to talk very briefly again about periodization because I forgot a few things. And then I want to talk about the themes of AP World History, which are huge. We're going to be emphasizing them all year. It's really important to understand these so that you do well in the AP exam. And also you have an assignment that deals with the themes that's going to connect it to the summer reading. So we'll get to the themes in a second, but back to the periodization here. Another thing I wanted you to see is that notice how long time-wise this first period is, right? 8,000 BC until about 600 BC. All right, but at the same time, notice that on the AP exam, this makes up only 5% of the content on the AP exam, whereas the last period, which again you can't see, but this goes from 1900 to present. And at one point, I'll put this chart on our website, on the AP Prep tab. But before we have that done, just so you know, this last period is only about 100 years, 115, right? But still, that covers 20% of the exam. So notice that there's not necessarily a correlation between how many years a particular time period is and how important that is on the AP exam, if that makes sense. I just wanted to emphasize that point. Okay, we already did reading questions. I showed you where to find those on the website. Just email me if you have questions or if you can't find that. I already gave you the disclaimer about using alcohol. Now here's my mouse, again, not really working here. So I want to give it a second to work and then we'll see if it does. If not, I'll pause this and come back. Really great timing to have your computer break. Okay, back here. Sorry, it's my computer is, like I said, it's a little haunted. Oh, now it goes, and it goes too fast. Okay, so what I want to do now is introduce you to the themes of AP World History. These are going to be huge, not just for this summer reading assignment, but for all year. Okay, so the AP World College Board has divided up AP World History's themes into these following categories. All right, so I'll tell you exactly how the College Board labels them, and then I'm going to give you an acronym that's going to help you memorize them and understand them more quickly. All right, so you have interaction between humans and the environment, development and interaction of cultures, state building, expansion and conflict, creation, expansion, and interaction of economic systems, and development and transformation of social structures. All right, so in other words, how do we, that's how you're going to remember that. That's going to take forever. So like genius teachers always do, and this is not me, I cannot take credit for this at all, is they make it easier for you to remember, and they make a little acronym for you, and this one is called SPICE, all right? So we're going to spice it up a whole lot this year when we are trying to remember all these different themes of history, okay? Now, in order to make the SPICE acronym, we actually slightly changed the order from what you see here, okay? So now the order is going to be social for S, right? Political, interaction, cultural, and economic, right? Okay. So let's get into a little bit more detail about how each of these themes operate and some of the key things you need to be thinking to yourself when you come across one of these themes, or if you have a question on an exam that asks you to do something with these themes. And a lot of times, for that matter, a question on the exam will want you to talk about one of these themes, but it's not going to say in parentheses development and transformation of social structures. You're going to need to know that that's the theme you need to address. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay, so AP theme number 1, or AP theme number 5, sorry, is social. All right, so again, we're going a little out of order, but it's just so that it fits into this whole nice little SPICE acronym. Okay, sub-themes. All right, you're going to see it's divided. We have gender as a really, really important social theme. Family and kinship, racial and ethnic constructions, social and economic classes. All right, so here we are divided up into a little bit more specific sub-themes. Okay, so let's actually understand what this means a little bit. What kind of questions should you be asking yourself, and what kind of questions might be asked of you that makes you think, oh, ding, ding, this is social. One thing you could say, all right, how do different groups relate to one another, right? So like, how do men and women interact with one another? How do people of different social classes? So like, how does the proletariat and the bourgeoisie interact? We talked about that, of course, in AP Euro last year. How do people communicate? All right, language is very significant for the social theme. We talk about language a lot, especially in the early time periods of AP World. How about what people do together? How do people interact, right? How people eat, things like that. Okay, how is the group organized, right? Is the society matrilineal or patrilineal? Things along those lines. Family and gender relations. All right, so like, what's the role of a child? What's the role of, is it an extended family? Is it just an immediate family? Okay, you understand. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but these are different questions that you should be asking yourself. And you know what? The rest of these key questions for social, I'll make the list that I'm actually reading off of right now into a document that I'll share with you eventually. Okay, but moving on. Political is the next part of the SPICE chart. It's actually theme 3, so again, see that it's slightly out of order. The sub-themes you should be thinking about: political structures and forms of governance, empires, nations, and nationalism, revolts and revolutions, regional, transregional, and global structures and organizations. All right, so a few questions you should ask yourself when you are coming across a political theme. Who's in charge, right? Is it just one person? Is it a number of people? Is there a monarchy, but it's essentially a puppet monarchy? Things along those lines, right? What is power based on, right? Is it a democracy? Is it a republic? Is it an autocracy? Is it a totalitarian dictatorship? Who gives the person the power? Is it divine right? Is the society secular and there's no such thing? Could it be a combination of things? What causes the power structure to ultimately decline, right? Is it environmental? Is it social? And notice when I'm saying social, you might say, well, Miss Sutton, the previous theme was social. How come you're talking about that with political? Well, the thing I love and am always nervous about when it comes to history, and any subject, for that matter, is you can't be that black and white, right? Social elements are going to come up in political themes, right? These different themes do overlap. So just remember that. Okay, so interactions. All right, this is the environmental theme. So it's actually theme 1, interactions between humans and the environment. All right, demography and disease, that's one sub-theme. Okay, migration, patterns of settlement, technology. Okay, so questions you can ask yourself to see if this is indeed an environmental issue, or maybe questions that you'll see in essays and so on. In what geographic region is a civilization located? Are you in the desert? Are you in a tropical region? You know. How are people affected by the geography, right? Does this make a society sedentary? Does it make a society migratory? Okay. How does the environment define the culture and civilization? How do people interact with their environment? All right. It could even link to something like religion, right? We'll talk about how a lot of indigenous societies have polytheistic religions that connect to nature, right? The idea that you need to have a sun god so that your crops will grow. Or not that you need to have one, but the fact that a sun god exists because a crop harvest is so significant. Next theme, cultural. Okay, again, lots of sub-themes. This links to the development and interaction of cultures, AP theme. And here we go, sub-themes: religion, belief systems, philosophies, ideologies, science and technology, arts, and architecture. All right, so that's, in my mind, a key difference. A lot of people look at that and they say, cultural, isn't that social? Well, notice that in a lot of ways you are focusing on sort of the product of of social interactions, right? Like arts and architecture, that's one of the reasons why I put the Sistine Chapel ceiling as the image here. The idea is that you're actually talking about some of the contributions that people make to society, make to politics, right? So I really like talking about arts and architecture because you can see how it literally shapes kind of the cultural development of a given society, all right? Also, you know, all these other things above are definitely linked to that as well. Okay, so last theme in the spice chart that we will be making lots of spice charts all year is economic. Creation, expansion, and interaction of economic systems. This is theme 4, so again, out of order a little bit, no worries. Sub-themes, agricultural and pastoral production, trade and commerce, labor systems, industrialization, capitalism, and socialism. Okay, so questions you can ask yourself for economic. Okay, how do people get food, right? Is it a, you know, sort of collaborative thing? Is everyone involved in farming? Or, you know, after the agricultural revolution in Europe, we know, less people had to farm, right? So, you know, do people live in urban areas and have absolutely nothing to do with agricultural production? That's a question. All right, trade networks, right? You know, how does that affect where people decide to live, right? See, that connects to another theme. It connects to environmental. We're going to talk about this a heck of a lot more in class. So again, I'm beating a dead horse a little bit. I can't help myself. Take a couple of weeks off. It's in the middle of the summer. You forget how to talk, right? So these are the themes. This is a brief, kind of quick and dirty outline of it. But I want to make sure you understand what ultimately you need to do with this. Okay, so what I did was I put a link on the website to the actual assignment. So let's see if this link works here. Here we go. And you can actually find this directly to the directly on the website as well, but this just links us to our Google Docs. Okay, so what you're going to find is that what you need to do for your 6 classes assignment, and this is not due until after the first week of school, by the way, but I still want you to be thinking about it as you read because that will just make your life easier. So there actually are more questions than there are themes, which you'll notice, but there's, I don't know, it's not, you know, it's not perfect. Ultimately, you're going to see that these themes, these themes are meant to make your life easier, but sometimes it's you know, kind of difficult to. Sorry, there goes my mouse again. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to kind of fit them into these neat categories. All right, so anyway, with my haunted mouse, let's just very briefly look at these, and you know, after that, I think you can ultimately kind of understand where you're going. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of this for you, but ultimately notice how the keywords that connect to the themes are all in bold, so hopefully that makes it easier for you. And the other thing I really want to stress is that when you are connecting the themes to the reading, I want you to make sure that you're including page numbers so that you get into the habit of citing your sources. I'm not going to be a real stickler about the citation style because I don't have you in the room right now. I'm not telling you how to cite things in Chicago. So if you want to do it in a slightly you know, loose way, then that's fine for now. But what you should be doing when you're doing your reading, see, I'm not even touching the mouse. Look at that. Anyway, while you are reading, you should be keeping these questions in mind, and you also should be answering the other reading questions. Basically, once you answer the reading questions that I talked about in the previous video, you should be able to tackle these questions. So notice that when you actually do the assignment, what you're going to find is that you're not really writing a paper per se. You're actually really just addressing these questions one by one. Okay, and then we'll get into writing an essay in a more comprehensive way. So my goal for the summer, besides prepping all these classes, is to make sure that my computer is no longer haunted by the time the school year starts. Either that or find a way to buy a new one. So you are a first-hand witness of my computer woes. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful summer again, and I will be in touch with a next video.